told you one real estate property can change the trajectory of your real estate journey. So today, myself, Kiran, and here we have Simran, Simran, and we are going to talk about those deals and transactions which can change your real estate transactions, the way you do the transactions and the way you do the run your analysis for the properties. Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely a game changer. First of all, thank you, Kiran,
Mhm.
for inviting me here. I mean, it's a lovely space here. You can tell like this lady is on the go. And like how you make your space and then how you look at the numbers and analyze properties. This is exactly what we did today.
Right.
It was a really good, well spent afternoon. We both were looking at different markets, just analyzing, putting each other's like minds up, asking questions. That is like really what we're going to talk about today and how one deal can make or break you in the real estate investing journey.
Right. So, we have been both investing in real estate for a long time, right? So we look at different market cycles and what has happened in the past few years, and different markets go through the changes. You have supply, lot of supply, and then vacancy rate goes higher, and then your rent can go so much. It won't be, like the now rent 1,800, it will go 19, 20, 21. It won't go like 4,000, 5,000.
Yeah.
So there's a peak and then it comes down. So what can real estate investors do so that it does not have go into a situation that it's so much negative cash flow that you have to
Yeah.
go through the foreclosure and go in a really really tough spot. So
Yeah. I think what we have really realized today, and that was also one of the focus in today's meeting for us as well, was to look ahead and to look in the past as well, and just see like how those numbers make sense. Like how's the vacancy rate been doing for the past 5 years, plus how it's forecasted to do in the next 5 years, and what are some of the things that are actually impacting that. What is the rent growth in this area versus the neighborhood areas? What are the median incomes, right? Because if people have income, that's when they'll actually pay, and that's the type of clients and people that we get, like tenants that we get. So I think basing your decisions on numbers and facts is what we realized today. I think what we really emphasize in our deal analysis is because it's then you make a sound decision.
right, and then
Yeah.
price per unit, right? Like
Yes.
we looked at like smaller multifamily where we can do fiveplex or six, like the fourplex, and then we looked at some of the properties, like you can get 200K per door, 250 per K door. It's all about how can you reduce your risk, and like you're buying a price per door that's 200K,
Yeah.
and you're getting the rent and like 1,800 or 1,900, you are in a better position compared to when your price per unit is $1 million and then your rent is only like 2,500.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely. I totally agree with you because I think it's how we spread our money and like how our money is gonna work and get us the most return in a different market, right? I think it goes like a long way to say like how far is your dollar willing to go. I mean, it's still the same sort of like investment that we're looking at, but a risk is spread out wider because we have more number of units versus like one number of unit or like four numbers of units, right? In a single family that we were looking at.
Yes.
So today we spent a lot of time analyzing fourplexes and houseplexes and townhomes and apartments up in the BC belt. We looked at inner BC, we looked at lower mainland, and we looked at like a lot of numbers that would make sense for us. So I mean, when it comes to like making your dollar go further, why not? I mean, that is the return that we're looking at, and that's the investment. That's like one thing a sound investor always looks for. If I put my dollar here, will it generate me $2, or should I put my dollar here with Kiran, and that's gonna collectively generate us like $8 or $6, right? And then we work from there.
Right. And the other thing is with the multifamily, your property is going to be purchased, like the bank is going to finance according to the debt service coverage ratio. It is not according to somebody's personal income, and that also allows you to buy more.
Yes.
Right. You're not maxed out how many properties you can buy and how many, when you are maxed out on any property.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think what it does in the way when I look at this from like a common sense lens is that because both of our journeys started that way,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Because we started in real estate investing as, from like a very single family perspective or like just parking our money, right? But once we start looking at these things, I mean, when I look at this is like the biggest perk is that we can build this like a business. So in businesses, what we're really doing is we're getting creative. Okay,
Yes.
how can we maximize these rents? How can we maximize the value of a property? How can we, what location should we buy in so that, over the years it's appreciating because we can control those factors. So the more control that we have in the deal is like, that really like tells us like how good of investors we are.
Right.
Versus in single family markets, more like, okay, if your neighbor decided to sell their property for
Higher or lower, right?
yeah, yeah. If they decided to sell their property for like a lower rate just because they are they're stressed or they just want to get out of the country or something, right? That defines how much our like property would be, right? Whereas in commercial, it's more like, okay, how has the property been performing? What is the potential there? What is not, right? So I really like that about it because there's more creativity into it.
Yes.
And then very entrepreneurial when it comes to that. So
right. And I really liked when we looked at like 1 year forecast and then the 3 year forecast and 7 year forecast. So we already know that we are buying this year, we are buying at this price per door, and then when this year hits, our vacancy rate will be this much. So we like the decisions are made. They're calculated risk and calculated decisions. It's not like I'm just gonna buy, I'm just gonna give my down payment. I'm just gonna buy and hope for the best.
yes.
Because it's like real estate is not it's not gamble. So
Yeah, and I think one should not be playing it like a gamble either. And I feel like, for a lot of like investors that are just starting out, and I always say like, being the student in the room is such an important mindset to have because you learn from different things in different manners, right? So even for people that are just starting out or even considering starting in, I mean, just basing your decisions because it's a lot of money. It's probably one of the biggest investments that we make in our life, our real estate investments. Doesn't matter if it's your first house, doesn't matter if it's your first property, doesn't matter if it's like outside of portfolio or
Yes.
not, right? It's like it's a big sum of money. So I'd say if it's like comparatively 50% or more of our efforts or time or life goes into saving those dollars and then reinvesting them.
Right.
So why are we not making those decisions based on facts and numbers?
Yes.
Why does that become like an emotional decision of like, I want to buy this property, I want to buy this condo, I want to buy
Picture
this,
looks
right?
good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like this property looks new and new is all is good, but then you paying higher price per door, and then but like multifamily, new multifamily, lower price per door, lower expenses, sounds great compared to big castle, right? Like a
Yes.
big house. So
Yes.
because that if you buy if you build your business, that can support your big single family castle and that luxurious life.
Yeah.
Compared to if you spend all your money into the liabilities that does not generate your income, that does not make you buy those multifamily. You're going further away from your goal. So I think that's a really interesting, and I'm so glad we came across this type of strategy in real estate, because otherwise there's so many like strategies you can use in real estate. And I feel like more comfortable like the number wise in multifamily, and especially like the land, right? Like we were calculating some of the lands, how many units we can build. And so like it seems very daunting, seems very like complex, right?
Yeah.
When it like actually it's not.
It's actually not, yeah.
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 So you backtrack like how much price per door is selling in the market, then you know you calculated the construction cost per unit, and then how much is soft cost, and then you buy the land, or look at the zoning, how many units are able to build, and then you put then you come up with a price. Yes,
Yeah.
this is the price I'm comfortable.
Yeah. And like this, exactly this, just the sequence of how you do your calculations and how you do your math is what I call like common sense math, right? Like,
Yeah.
when I got started into real estate investing, I was like, I don't know, like this seems like a different elephant in the room. I gotta restudy, I gotta do something else and whatnot. And while we were sitting down and we were looking at these calculations, I think it's just same as any other business because
Yes.
you want to make money at the end of the day.
Mhm.
You gotta define what your end goal is. Like if you really want, what sort of money do you want from this investment, and then work backwards, right? And when we run those numbers on different parcels of lands that we look at today, it's like, okay, yeah, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. Once we start looking at numbers, it really helps us beat down the emotion that might come sometimes because some properties would just be like, oh my God, I love this. Like we looked at a few, they were like waterfront properties and
Yes.
right, makes sense and yes, but there's that little thing in us that's like, okay, yeah, I want to own this, but then if the math doesn't make sense, then it's going to limit us to that. So I really like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then like another interesting question, like for me, like how I got into real estate was by accident. Like I'm a nurse by profession, and then I was in Saskatoon and then looked at, I wanted to always go into appreciation market, bought a property here and then bought it at the wrong time. So for me, that was by accident. Like that made me realize I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Like it's my hard working money going into something that the property I bought is going down because of the what's happening in the community, what's happening in the market. So that made me think like how can I bulletproof? What can I do so that my what I buy does not go down in value, right? So
Yeah.
so how about you? How you got into real estate?
I love that story, and I think that it really comes from that seeking mindset too, because you started seeking answers and started seeking solutions. And the same was for me. A little different, yes, because I'm an entrepreneur by profession. I run businesses, I build businesses, and that's what I do. Like that's my bread and butter. But while I was doing that, I realized like because businesses go up and down.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to keep putting in money and then you take out money and for a long period of time sometimes you don't even make money. And then but I was here by myself and I'm thinking like, okay, I need to start doing some sort of real estate investing. I want to buy my first house. I was like, okay, am I gonna use the entire house?
Yes.
Why should I be buying the house, right? Like so I really just got into real estate from a perspective of like, just parking my money.
Mm-hmm.
Or for me, or just making mini goals for myself as a business owner that I don't put 100% what I make back into the business. I just wanted that to be like, okay, every 3 months I do like a pre-sale condo,
Yes, yeah.
payment. That forces me to park some money away. Just like,
Saving, yes, yeah.
yes. So it's like I consider that savings, but I was like, okay, I'm not gonna put it into a business account, like a banking account, but rather invest in real estate. And when they came on closing, and I'm looking at all of my assets, I'm like, okay, they're not cash flowing. And then every market is just like you said, every market is defining how the property will do. I'm like, okay, I have no control almost.
Right, yes, yeah.
That's when I started looking at multifamilies because I work with a lot of developers, a lot of builders, right? And, in the building supplies industry, I get to see that a lot. And I see how those businesses or those people, like their wealth has quadrupled over. It's compounded over because the first math that you do is duplicatable.
Right.
Whereas if you're buying single family, the strategy is different based on the neighborhood, based on the city, based on where you buy, based on where you sell. But whereas when you look at multifamily, it's like, okay, if your numbers make sense and these are the KPIs you got to work with, you duplicate the same math over
Yes,
and
yes.
over and over and over until you find something that fits your portfolio, until you find something that you can make work, right? So
Yes.
I really like that. And then I totally agree with you. We're glad that we're around such association that we've been able to learn so much
Yes.
and just like get ourselves out of that notion of like, yes, I have a couple properties, but they're not cash flowing, right?
So and the other thing is like these like common it's a common brain, like the common mind, like that combines together and then comes up with the solutions, right? Like we had a lot of properties, and then for our next acquisition, we are working in an Alberta market and BC market. So yeah. So Simran, she lives in Alberta. I live in BC. So and then both are really like cash flowing and appreciation. One is cash flowing, one is appreciation. A lot of really great, economic drivers are in the market. So now we did the market analysis. We know what we are looking for, and we a lot of emails we sent. We contacted the sellers. Now the emails are gonna come back to us, and we will buy what makes sense, right?
For sure, for sure. And I love this, right? It's like, just like you said, like the mindset is very important, right? And then every person or every good partner that you meet, you have the opportunity of creating a different build box, right? So there's a lot of people that work with in Alberta, but they're not interested in the BC market because they don't have boots on the ground and stuff like that. But when I can collaborate with you on the BC market, you can work with me in the Alberta market. We're able to kind of like, get like a good mix.
Yes.
And we understand where we're at and how we work together and how we analyze deals, right? We did some of the groundwork today, even though this wasn't planned, but like we were able to throw in so much time into this because, when you start building portfolios of wealth in this way, you have control over your time.
Right.
You get to choose what you want to do. Like we didn't have jobs today.
Yes.
So
literally sitting down on the computer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally just like, hey, I'm in town. What are you doing? Let's sit down, let's talk, and then whenever we were talking about real estate,
Right.
we're like, okay, yeah, let's look at some properties. Why not? And then it just rolls away from that. So
Yes. So if you're a real estate investor, just like curious, like what. How can you make sure that the properties you're buying are cash flowing or they appreciate over time? So reach us, and so this is a multifamily, Deals and Dollars podcast. Thank you for listening, and myself, Kiran, and reach out to Simran. So
perfect. Well, very nice being here. We look forward to talking to you guys.
thank you.
Thank you.